Hello and welcome to the Empowered Divorce Summit. My name is Heather Debraseni and I'll be your host throughout this wonderful event. Today we're joined by Allana Pratt, a Cum Laude graduate of Columbia. Allana is a single mom who has battled an internal war with body shame and sexual guilt and won. She is also the author of 4 incredible books, including the Reluctant Milf. Allana now uses her experience to inspire women to embrace their sacred, erotic nature, to attract all the love and attention they choose. Thanks for joining us today, Allana.
Oh, it's great to be here, and you're right. That music really gets you going right at the beginning of the interview. I'm like, okay, bring it, girl.
Yeah.
And I love what you're doing because so many times divorce has such shame to it and heaviness to it, and really there's so much suffering that goes on far too long. So I totally honor what you're up to, and I feel very privileged to be here.
Thank you. I feel privileged to have you here because one of the things that I think that women kind of struggle with when they're going through divorce is the struggle between being and owning their sexuality and the fact that they're a sexual creature, and balancing that with being a mom.
Yeah.
And so. Right. So what I want to ask you, though, is can you share a little bit about your divorce journey with us today?
Sure. I've actually been divorced twice. First was in my late 20s, and that one was pretty calm in comparison to my second one. I basically was just I was insecure. I was looking for security, but I didn't want to admit it. And so I attracted somebody that wasn't a very good match, and we parted ways quite calmly, I suppose, overall. There were no children, and both of us moved on. The second divorce happened like 10 years ago, and yet we still just finished our most recent stint in court for a custody battle just about a month ago. So it's been a 10-year custody battle. It's been very, very traumatizing, and I've been hiding. I think the biggest thing was I didn't want anybody to know, because I'm this relationship expert and I'm this intimacy expert and I'm supposed to be perfect. And behind the scenes, I was it sure felt like I was being bullied 24/7. The emails were daily, and every time I looked at my son, on the one hand, my heart was like split in two because I loved him and I missed him, and I didn't want him to be going through all of this. So there was this sadness every time I looked at this child who meant the world to me. And then, of course, there were all these feelings of love and joy and adventure and all the rest of it. So it was tough to be present because of all the feelings that were going on inside me. And then relating back to your question, when we as women spin in our heads because our hearts are closed down, we can't get all the way down into our pelvis. We can't get down into our power center either, by the way, but even lower, we can't get down into our pelvis where not just our sexual energy is, but our creativity is. Our creativity, our intuition, our instincts, those ideas that would create more joy, more abundance, more deliciousness in our life. And so sometimes we just shut her down altogether, and we just stay up in our spinning head where we think we can be safe, which is a big fat lie. And we just keep that heart shut down the whole time. And the wounds, they just compound on one another. And then we think, oh, yeah, let's go get a boyfriend. That'll make everything better. And yet we're not our truest, deepest self with that man. We're a wounded heart. We're a shut down pelvis. We're not in our true power. And we're authentically lonely. We might not have had kind, gentle, nourishing, sensual touch for months, if not years, sometimes decades. And so it's very, very, very important to be kind to ourselves and be honest with ourselves and get support so that, one, we can leave that spinning head, go into the heart, feel, that's the way to heal, feel and let it go, all of the trauma, all of the pain, all of the betrayal, the abandonment, the anger, the frustration, the loneliness. It's all real, and it's all stuck in there. So to breathe through it and release it. And as we do so, we begin to drop down even farther into our true feminine power, which is not power over. It's not force. It's not will. It's courage. It's an internal strength. As the universe begins to pour through our body, we begin to become in communion with this life force energy that animates us and fuels us. And then as we drop even lower into our pelvis, we begin to breathe in this energy of the universe that wants to love us and nurture us and guide us. And we begin to truly use our imagination and this creative energy in our pelvis to create the life we choose, to magnetize the partner that is truly a great fit for our life, while simultaneously really loving being in our body again. During a divorce, it doesn't feel safe to be in our body, and so life becomes not safe. So to come all the way home into our pelvis again and exhale, and to feel safe in our body, then that leads to feeling delicious and sensual and alive, and simply a sunset can turn you on. And by the time that woman goes out on a date, or that woman writes an online profile, or that woman flirts with somebody at a networking event or at the grocery store, an entirely different experience happens because she's full. She doesn't need anything. She's not trying to overcompensate or hide. She's dealt with her shame. And it's such this like invitational vortex to attract a noble, present man who's ready to honor a queen. And
Absolutely.
That's the journey I take women on.
Yeah, and I think that it resonates with me really well because, one, our stories are pretty parallel. I have been divorced twice, although my first and second divorce were flipped. My first divorce was the contentious divorce, and the second divorce was the man that I thought I had changed and I was strong enough to handle things, and I really wasn't quite there yet.